Knits podcast. I'm Amy, and I am podcasting to you from my home in St. Louis, Missouri. We have been living here for the past year, and in case you're new, I welcome you and thanks for checking out my podcast. If you're wondering why it's called the Hudson Valley Knits podcast, that's where I lived up until a year ago. I lived there all my life and just decided to keep the name. Today was a really wonderful day. We decorated the house for Christmas today, so I really wanted to set the scene here. I'm in my living room and I haven't podcast in this place, but it seems to be a really good spot to podcast. It might actually become permanent, we'll see. The Christmas tree is in our family room because that's where we spend most of the time, but we did decorate the living room here a little bit. So I hope you enjoyed that. I have no new finished objects since I last podcast, which was right after Rhinebeck, more than a month ago. Yeah, like 2 months. Wow, 2 months. I'm really sorry, but, well, no, I'm not sorry. It's the way it goes, life, right? So I wanted to show you, I do have some really fun new whips to share with you. So I hope you really enjoy this. Let me start with what I'm wearing. I am wearing my Rachel's Yoke cardigan designed by Kate Davies. And it is probably my second favorite sweater. My first favorite sweater is designed by Isabel Kramer, the Malin sweater. It's the one, it's just a regular top-down worsted sweater, and I just love the fit. It's my comfy, cozy sweater, you know, the kind that you just snuggle up with. But this, I just love the fit. I love the colors that I picked out for it, and yeah, I just think it's a really, really beautiful pattern, and I really love how it came out. Her designs are really, really wonderful. And speaking of Kate Davies, I guess I'll go to my first whip. I do believe I showed this to you in October, and when I did, I probably only had a little bit of the sleeves done. And what I usually do when I knit a sweater is I start off with the sleeve, and that will more or less be my gauge swatch. And that's what I did with this one. And I did have to re-knit it a couple of times, and the sleeve that is, to get the right gauge. And then when I knit color work, I usually just go by my stockinette gauge and go up 1 needle size when I get to the color work, because I knit tighter when I'm knitting in stranded knitting. So here is what I have so far, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing this, Coinneach Yoke cardigan by Kate Davies. It's with her, what is the name of her yarn? Let me see here, I'll get it out, I'll show you. Malarkey tweed, I believe she called it. I'm kind of on the fence about this. The softness is wonderful, and I love the tweediness of this yarn, and when it's knit up, it really does look beautiful. But it's like a single ply, heavily twisted yarn, and honestly, it's very thick and thin. Some areas of the yarn were really thin, and some were a little thick. But it does knit up nice, and I guess that's what is important. But it looks very well, tweedy, yes, but what do you call it? It's got like lumps and bumps in it. So that I kind of didn't like, but for this particular pattern, it's perfect. I ordered this as a kit from her, so it's the original colors that she chose for the the pattern, and I am really, really loving this. I am sure this is going to be done soon. I am at the yoke. I have already done the first round of decreases, and I have a feeling it's going to go pretty quick from here. After that, I will cut the steek. You can't really see the steek much. I have 9 steek stitches. That's what the pattern called for. It's not really necessary, and I switch colors where the steek is, so I don't have to worry about weaving in ends. I'll just cover them up with some ribbon I bought for covering up the steek. I will probably do a reinforcement of a crochet reinforcement, because this is not like a sticky Shetland wool. This is pretty smooth. So I don't think it will be as stable as a steek with a like Shetland wool that's tacky and sticky. Those, you really don't even need to reinforce those. It's really a personal preference. But this I will definitely reinforce. And so I got both the sleeves done. I did the sleeves first. The pattern called for the body first, but I did the sleeves. I will say that the cuffs are a bit tight. I can fit my hand through, but they are very, very snug. And if I'm wearing something underneath this, just the sleeves are pretty snug in general, but especially the cuffs. And if I'm wearing something underneath this, it might be difficult to wear it comfortably. When I'm done, I plan on deciding if I might cut the cuffs off and pick up the stitches and re-knit the cuffs. I'm still on the fence about it. We'll see, but it's not a very difficult thing to do. I can either pick up stitches and knit down, or I can knit a new cuff and just graft the stitches together a little further up where I have just a straight line of stockinette stitch. It'll graft beautifully. But we'll see. We'll see when I'm done. I don't mind doing stuff like that. I kind of have fun doing stuff like that. Sweater surgery stuff. So this is my sweater, my current sweater project. I pretty much lately have had at least one sweater project, one shawl, and a pair of socks, and that's what I got now. So let me show you. Let me put this away first, and then I'll show you the shawl I'm working on. I had just finished the Hint of Autumn shawl by Tammy Gore back in October, and I remember showing you that while I was podcasting for my mom's. And after that, I was kind of on the fence, couldn't really decide what shawl to cast on. And I was also going through all my yarn and doing a really heavy de-stash, like really thinking about stuff that I really knew I wasn't going to knit with, that I wasn't super in love with. And I came upon a kit that I had ordered years ago, an Artyarn kit. And Artyarn is an amazing, luxurious yarn. It's a bit pricey, but it is like just so wonderful to the touch. So I saw the kit, and it's for the Zhivago Shawl, and that's a design by the owner of Artyarns. She designs a lot of patterns. Her name is Iris Schreier, and this is what it's going to look like. I hope you can see that pretty good. It is a mixture of her merino cloud in both the fingering weight version, and she has like a very heavy worsted weight version, and some of the silky sequined yarn, and I'll show you all the yarns. And what she does is she has you, when you're skeins it up, skein some of them together. So you're always knitting with a kind of heavy worsted weight, and it's kind of a little marled in some places, and I really love the look. Now this is all squished up right now, but it will definitely block out really nice and relaxed. But I think my gauge is a lot tighter than the pattern called for. And again, it will be kind of a wrap or a wide scarf for me. And I can't wait to have this done and wear it against my skin. And of course it's in my favorite colors, which is pink. I love pinks and grays and blue grays and all that kind of stuff, and this fits it perfectly. So here is the silk and sequins held double with her merino cloud fingering weight. And that's one ball. And then you take it, the same silk and sequins, and you hold it together with like a variegated version of the merino cloud, and that's this one. And then you have the two merino clouds held together, the solid pink and then the variegated, which is grays and white and pinks and blues. Really beautiful. And then finally you have the two worsted weights, which are both merino cloud, just the plain cream. And here's the marled, but in the worsted weight size. And all of these are knit up in chevrons, and it's just gorgeous. I've been weaving in ends as I go, but I haven't trimmed them yet. I'll trim them after I block it. I saw once someone trimmed her ends before she blocked it, and everything kind of expanded, and she realized that where she had woven it in, it was coming out. So I always wait until after I block it before I weave it in. So I knit on this pretty ferociously for a while, and then I saw a couple of cows or mystery cows coming out for Advent, and at the last minute I decided to purchase the pattern from A Homespun House. Molly from A Homespun House had a mystery Advent cowl for a shawl. She had a kit you could buy, but I am using scrap yarn, and you needed 50 grams of 4 different colors. I just got clue 3 today, but I have not started it. But let me show you, and if you don't want to see, you can turn away, but let me show you clues 1 and 2, which are complete. I started with the cream, and this is Spirit Trail Fiberworks Sunna, which is my favorite yarn. It's going to be a crescent shape. Let me put it a little closer. The cream was just garter stitch and then a little eyelet section, and then the next section is a really beautiful slip stitch, kind of seed stitch look. It is a slip stitch pattern, and I really love it. And the next section, which I'll start, let me show you the color I plan to use. So I've got the cream, the blue. This is like the bottom of the shawl down here. So as I get up, I'm getting a little darker. And then the next color I thought I'd use is this gold with a little bit of red throughout. So this is going to be the next color. Right. And then after the gold, which I might run out of, and I'll talk about that in a minute. After the gold, I'm going to do the red, which is this here. Now, these are 2 different color reds. You could barely see the difference in person in the shading of the red, but this is just a little different than this. This is a little deeper, if you will. I don't know, a little more brown to it. They're both Sunna, but this also has what do you call it? Not tinsel. When you have the sparkliness in the yarn. This is a sparkly yarn that I knit last year's Christmas socks with, the Christmas tree pattern by Little Bobbins. And this is what I have left over. I think it was like 30 grams. And then I had this mini skein of Senna, and it was so close that I believe this will be plenty to finish off the shawl with. However, my gauge is very, very loose, much looser than the pattern called for. I did run out of the cream. Luckily, I have a lot of this in my stash. I had some that was left over from some socks, or no, some that was left over from a shawl I knit, and then I had a mini skein, and I skeined both of those up. That was about 60 grams, almost 60 grams. And I ran out of that, and I had 2 full skeins left, and I caked up one of those and used just a little bit. I think I just needed to do like 6 or 8 rows with that, not even. So I did go way over, so I was worried that I would not be able to complete clue 2 with what I had, which was almost exactly 50 grams of this blue here. But I was able to finish. Let me show you how little I had left. Where is the blue? It is here in the basket. Okay, this is what I have left. I'm supposed to do 4 more rows of the blue as I transition into the next color. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think I'm gonna have to go right into the gold, and then maybe I can get 2 more rows of this, but I don't know. I do have another skein of Senna upstairs that's kind of similar to this blue, but it's not this blue, and you'll know. So what I might do is just go into the next stitch pattern, which is mostly garter, and it's almost the same as down here. I might just go right into it with the gold and knit until I get to the right stitch count. Now, if I run out of the gold, I also have this pretty color here. Another Senna color. It's kind of sooty with some blues in it. Kind of purpley undertones, and I thought if I run out of any color, I can do some rows and get to the proper stitch count with this beautiful color here, which would go well with everything that I have set aside for this shawl. So this is what I've been working mostly on, and I think this is the first time I finished both the first 2 clues on time. Usually when I knit something like this that comes out in clues, I never, ever finish on time. So this is where I'm going with this. The red will be up by my face, which is a good color for me. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's very potato chippy, and I'm loving it. So I definitely recommend it. If you want a nice crescent shaped shawl, go for it. It's been fun. And this is in my Knit Spin Farm project bag. That's one of my Christmas bags, and I just love this bag with the winter wonderland kind of theme to it, and the reindeer and the cardinal. It's just very, very beautiful. Let me show you, those are my 2 shawls. I'll go back to working on the Zhivago Shawl after this cal is done. I also brought down, which I forgot to show you, for the cardigan. I recently, from the Woolly Thistle sale, I bought this is the ribbon I bought to cover the steek with. This is by the Green Bean Podcast. This is her custom made ribbon. It's a little thin. It's definitely not like a gross grain ribbon, but it'll be fine in back of the steek. So I'm really digging this. And then I have these buttons that I got in Rhinebeck. And I'm really not sure which one I'm going to use for the cardigan, but I have all these to choose from. But I have to decide soon. And let me pull it out again. I haven't really looked at it next to the sweater yet. I'm thinking the darker ones, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Which buttons? These are really small in the middle. I would probably not use those. As a matter of fact, I think I can rule them out because they're a little too red for this. But these are really beautiful. They're big, but they'll go with this sweater style-wise. These are a little smaller, and I think the color would also go well, and they're less bold. So it'll probably be one of these two. So let me know what you think. All right, and finally, I just have a plain old pair of socks on the needles. I've had this, I'm not sure if I showed this to you. I don't think I had this on the needles last podcast, but I might have just started it. I really don't remember, but I have one sock done. This is West Yorkshire Spinners yarn in the colorway Peasant. And it's a knit 3, purl 1 ribbed sock from the top to the bottom. I did not do a separate color for the cuff heels and toe, which I wish I did. And but it's too late for that now. I've got the second one started, and this is what I have left. I got this years ago as a gift from Little Bobbin. She sent it to me along with a whole bunch of washcloths for my senior love along, which is something I used to do when I still lived in New York. I did like a little holiday party for the senior veterans at our local VA hospital. I have not found or figured out what I'm going to do here, but I will do something knitting related and volunteering with my time. I will tell you, I did sign up recently. They had a TED Talk here in St. Louis, a local one. And there were a lot of vendors outside, and I did sign up to potentially work with an after-school program that would teach knitting to inner city kids. They don't just do knitting, they do just about anything, and they were asking for volunteers to come in and teach girls, inner city girls, hobbies, techniques, skills, anything after school. I don't know if I'll be able to swing it with my job, if they would let me leave work one day a week to be able to participate in this. But my guess is that as long as it does not interfere with work, they would let me wiggle around my hours a little bit, but we'll see what happens when I get there. So that is it with what's on my needles. Forgot one more thing. So another thing I got the bug for. I was at my aunt and uncle's house for Thanksgiving, and it really was a very nice trip. And one of the things I came across while I was there is a doily that I had crocheted for them when I was still in high school. And it kind of brought back the bug to do that kind of crochet again. I loved crocheting doilies when I was in high school. I loved anything kind of old like that. I have a couple of doilies lying around our house here, and I really wanted to knit more, and I really regretted that I had all of those Crochet Magic magazines with the patterns in them, and I had gotten rid of them. So I did notice that Donna Dracunis, who has an online shop called Sheep to Shawl, she was selling some fiber from Lithuania, which is, it's part linen and part cotton. Oh, sorry, no, it's 100% linen thread. It's very, very thin. Usually I crochet with a thicker, I just dropped it, a thicker cotton thread, but I figured I'd give this a try. I also bought, she had some patterns that were knitted lace, that were kind of doilies, snowflakes kind of things. But here's the one little one I've started so far. I really want to make some snowflakes and use some, starch to stiffen them, and I was thinking maybe hang them from the Christmas tree. But even if I can just get one done this year, I'll be very happy. It goes pretty quick, but it's coming out really small because the thread is so thin. And I'm wondering if I should just go to Joann's and buy some cotton thread and crochet up a snowflake with that, but we'll see. I bought some other thread as well in other colors, and I plan on also knitting some of those little lace doilies that Donna designed, but right now I just really wanted to crochet something, and let me show you, let me just pick up my needle here so I don't step on it, so tiny. This is the book that I have. It's just a whole book full of crocheted snowflake patterns. It's a really great addition to have in my library. I have not nearly crocheted enough of them. So I'm hoping to get at least I'd like to get 3 done for this season. And then I'll have to go out and buy some starch. So that's another thing that I've kind of been working on. And then that is it. That is it with my projects. I'll give you a little idea of a couple of other little things and what I plan to do next. I know I wanted to talk about working on the sweater jacket that Sandy had started, which I do still plan to do. But if you recall, or if you didn't watch the last podcast, I had talked about how my sister, or I didn't talk about it, my daughter was with me, and we had gone to Rhinebeck together. She's a very beginner knitter. She's done basic cowls and scarves, a little bit of different types of stitches, but she wanted to try making a sweater. So she bought sweater's worth of the nightshades by Harrisville Designs, that new nightshade yarn they came out with, which is basically a very dark, almost black yarn with just hints of color to them. It's a DK weight, and we bought this pattern called the May Pullover, and she went home and she was swatching for it, and she's ready to start, and we were talking about through like a Skype chat, I could help her and we could start this sweater. It's knit top down, it's a yoke design. It's got small cables and some twisted stitches patterns in it, in the yoke. And I thought the best way to help her was to knit it concurrently with her. So when the Woolly Thistle had their, I guess, Black Friday sale, I bought some Pink by Numbers double knit it's from the John Arbin Textiles in this plummy purple colorway, which I really think is beautiful. How's it look on me? And I'm going to knit it with Rachel. I'm thinking this is going to go really slow, and she'll be putting it down and picking it up. She's not an obsessive knitter as of yet. I see her kind of going down that path, but right now she'll knit a little and then she'll stop for a while. So when she's working on it, I'll work on it, and when she puts it down, I'll work on other things. So that's another thing I want to work on. And finally, I wanted to show you, these are the silk Pinkies I bought at Rhinebeck. I probably showed them to you the last podcast. And I have thoroughly been enjoying spinning them up on my spindle. It's been really, really nice. So I bought 2 rolls. Here's one roll, and here's what's left of the other one. And I am really, really enjoying spinning these up. Let me just take one apart and show you. So you peel them off by layer. And there is one very thin layer, and you can see they really want to stick to each other. And then you just stick a hole in the middle, and you just pull. And this is how you pre-draft it. And I'm trying to make it somewhat thin for like I want to do a 2-ply, and I want it to be like a DK weight. And basically you just pull it out, draft and draft. I pull it out, I'm not going to pull out any more right now, but I pull it out until it's the thickness that I am going to spin it in, because I don't want to draft it while I'm spindling, because the silk is really long. It's actually one long thread, so it's really hard to draft. So what I do is I do all the drafting ahead of time, and it's really sticky. Look at, you can see it's like sticking. If you have any calluses or on your hands, it's going to stick to them. It's drawn to it. Look, it's like as soon as you get it near, it's going to want to stick to it. So it can be really cumbersome if you have to do all that spinning and then draft it at the same time. So I've been pre-drafting, and this is about how it's come out. It's very nubby. I really love that about it. It's thick and thin. It's not consistent. This is my first time spinning a pure silk, and I'm really enjoying it. So it's definitely a learning experience. So I will spin all of these hankies up, and then I will spin then I'll take this off and I'll spin the other ones, and then I'll 2-ply it and probably make some fingerless mitts with it. Not 100% sure. I'll see how many yards I get with it, but that's what I'm doing with this. It feels really good to spin again. I haven't been spinning with the wheel lately, but I've always leaned towards the spindle spinning. I've always enjoyed that the best. So it feels good to have my spindle out again. And that's about it. Another thing I just wanted to say is I will podcast again sometime between now and or Christmas and New Year's. I'll try and get another podcast up because I want to talk about 2020 knitting goals. 2019 goals went to the wayside for me, but I did get some of them done, and it was a crazy year, so it's understandable. But I still like kind of setting some kind of goals for the coming year. So that's what I'm going to do at the year end. If you would like to do that as well, start thinking about making a list of any kind of, it can either be a list of projects or a list of things you want to try, or just, something very general, like I want to make 6 socks and a sweater, or even if it's just one goal. This year, I want to make my first sweater. Then let's do that. So if you'd like to do that, join me in the next podcast, because that's what it will be all about. And I will see you before the new year. Take care. Bye-bye.